What's up? Today we're going to be doing a June reading wrap up. This is the mid-year wrap up. I'm hoping to cover what shows and movies I've watched so far this year too, because this is the middle of the year wrap up. So we'll see how much time we have left towards the end, and then I may or may not decide to do that. So let's hop straight into it. The first book I read in the month of June was Saving Noah by Lucinda Berry, which I talked about briefly towards the end of my last video on here. That was a reading wrap up. So far in the year 2022, I have read one other book by her, which was called Appetite for Innocence, which was, her writing style is just so real and very, very it's scary stuff, her writing is, but she's an extremely good author and obviously an extremely good psychologist, because all of her books are extremely it gets to the darkest, it covers the darkest parts of humans. It covers the darkest, her writing just spans the deepest, darkest subjects. And it's really, and I apologize in advance, by the way, for any interruptions if there are any, because I'm recording this early in the morning, and if something by chance happens during this, and you notice a jump cut, please excuse me. There's like crazy shit going on right now in my house, so that book I had read, it was very disturbing, very creepy, and I enjoyed it, so I decided to try another one of her books called Saving Noah, which is about similar subject matter. And Saving Noah talks about a basically super normie mother, soccer mom, that finds out, in this case she's not really a soccer mom, she's like a swim team mom, and she finds out some really finds out that her son is extremely dark, and finds out that her son is doing some really illegal things. And the whole book is about, basically, I don't want to spoil it, but it was very dark, very disturbing. It covers a lot of very explicit illegal conduct. If your stomach will turn by reading this, go read the synopsis and see if it's a good fit for you, and if it's not, just don't bother. But she's got other books that are extremely well written, because one of them I read right after this one, because it was, her writing is just so good. But this is about a mother who finds out who her son really is after raising him for all these years. Can barely even recognize her son. The father can barely recognize his son. The daughter is completely oblivious because she's so young. And basically it was he in this book, the son is dealing with the consequences of his illegal actions, and basically it follows not only his journey through this process of trying to reconcile right the wrongs, the very, very terrible wrongdoings. And it not only follows his journey, but it follows his family's journey as well, and the impact that an instance like this has on a family. I rated it 5 out of 5 stars because it was just so well written. I'm telling you, her writing is just amazing. This was a very difficult read, as subject matter like this is always difficult to talk about. And there's a reason why I'm beating around the bush on this particular book. It's because even saying some of the words that are related to this book could get me kicked off of here in a heartbeat. But it's very disturbing, very twisted, and the ending is not for everyone, but trust me, it needed to end that way. And a lot of people that know me in real life know that people that are this particular way, there's no hope for them, and they must be dealt with. So that was a perfect ending for the book. And it's sad, it's bittersweet, but it needed to take place, okay? And it is a question of morality. And that's why I love her writing, is because it's so deep. It's not just that she writes psychological thrillers. I mean, she writes, these are definitely thrillers. This is, but they really go down to the deepest depths, psychologically speaking. And really, really, it had to end that way. And like I said, the way in which she writes things, like I said, you could probably have conversation. I mean, this book alone, it could spark so many conversations, and all of that. And her writing and the way she wrote this is, like I said, there's so many things that open up conversations, open up to talk about in this sort of situation. And like I said, I believe that the ending, it had to end that way, and that's the best ending that it could have had. But I just really enjoyed this book. So after enjoying that book, I read Missing Parts by Lucinda Berry, same author. This one I enjoyed also really, really well. This is a book about a woman who's basically living a lie, and she had never basically faced her childhood trauma. And so now, with that childhood trauma never being addressed, she goes into a relationship, like most people with childhood trauma do. They think that they can just put it away and push it away until it goes away. That's why these books that she's written are so well done, is because she really addresses the core of a lot of America's problems. And so this book is literally about a woman who can't address her childhood trauma and instead brings that childhood trauma into a relationship, into a marriage, and then has kids, or has a kid, I should say. And because she never addressed her childhood trauma, she is basically destroyed her marriage, because she hasn't faced that and her issues deep down. She is now not only destroyed her marriage, but has also destroyed her daughter's life. So and it goes into it's a pretty short book, and honestly I wish it was longer, and I wish the characters were developed more. That's my only critique for this book, but I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars because it was such a good read. And this is more like the thriller sort of thing, like a whodunit, what's up, like type of thing. If you're paying attention, you're probably going to be able to figure this out quite easily. But it was really, really an interesting read, and it just went to show you, like I said, the trauma wasn't addressed. Her personal habits were not addressed, and so it talks about basically the impact that would have on a family in this particular situation. Like I said, I don't want to give much more away because then that would spoil the book for you. The next book I read in the month of June was called Art Inc., The Essential Guide for Building Your Career as an Artist by Lisa Congdon. I gave this a straight up 2 stars, and let me tell you why. Most of the stuff that she wrote in this book, let me just say this, personally, this is my opinion. This book is a total cash grab to try and get young artists to buy her book, thinking that she's going to give them the keys to the castle, and really what it is just stuff that we already know as artists that has to be done in order to make money. This book is basically sold to you as basically a book that will solve all your problems as an artist, that all of a sudden, money's going to be coming out of your rear end, and falling out of trees and stuff like that. But this particular book did none of that. It rehashed, and it's basically, it talks about stuff that you can easily find online for free. Personally, I didn't have to pay a dime for this book because I read it through Hoopla on audiobook. But the point is, this book is not what it's, chalked up to be. And it's stuff that people already know. Artists, if you do your research, you already know this. Most of the stuff is talked about on YouTube for free. Squarespace deals with a lot of this stuff for behind a paywall, but much of what she talks about and discusses you can find out online on YouTube yourself. It's not difficult to find out about this. And it was not impressive. There was nothing new that I learned that I thought would help me to make more money as an artist. Towards the end, a lot of this is legal jargon, which is important, obviously, for contracts, and if you're going into commercializing and basically, establishing yourself as an artist in that field, in that way. But a lot of this was unnecessary, and a lot of this, guys, don't even waste your time on this book. It's just, honestly, I probably should have given it 1 star, because that's how bad it was, but I'm being generous, and giving it a 2 stars because it was not impressive. Not impressive at all, guys. If you're an artist, don't even waste your time on this book. The book after that I read the month of June was called Secret Empires: How the American Political Class Hides Corruption and Enriches Family and Friends. Now, in the last wrap-up I had read Clinton Cash, which was so good that I just had to give another one of his books a read. This one caught my eye because of the cover. Mitch McConnell, Jared Kushner, John Kerry, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden are on the front. So this is just like Clinton Cash. That cover was pulling me towards reading it. So is this book. And here's the thing: his covers are not deceiving. If he puts someone on that cover, he's gonna go in on them, and that's exactly what this book did. This book is not partisan at all, because he slams both the right and the left. Mitch McConnell's a Republican. Jared Kushner is related to a Republican, under the cabinet, obviously, of DJT. He's the son-in-law. Joe Biden is a Democrat. Obama's definitely a Democrat, so is John Kerry. And he goes into, and here's what's shocking about this. He goes into the whole Joe Biden Hunter fiasco in depth This book was published, let me tell you when it was published. I believe this book was published before the selection/election 2020. This book was published, when was it published? 2018. Yo, this guy was on that shit. March of 2018. I can't say that. March of 2018, this guy was on his ass. The Hunter Biden stuff, he was on his ass. He was all over the Mitch McConnell stuff. He was all over the DJT crooked dealings. He was all over. If you like Susan Bradford, my truther friends, if you like listening to Susan Bradford, you're going to love this guy's writing. Absolutely love it. Eat it up. I recommend this book to everyone. Again, it is not partisan. Not wanting corruption, not wanting pocketing of money as an American citizen, as someone that does not want corruption in their government, corruption should never be a partisan issue, period. Point blank, period. Okay, this is something that we can all man up and agree upon, and no matter what side of the aisle the corruption is coming from, we must address it, eradicate it, weed it out, period. This is not something that should be a partisan issue and debate. In fact, I think this author does a stellar job at doing exactly what I like to see myself as doing. Absolutely going in on both sides of the aisle. And trust me, this book, there's no complaints. No complaints. And even when I go on Goodreads, guys, there's like little to any negative ratings, because you know why? Because you can't give him negative ratings. He does his fucking homework. He goes in, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle on that these people are on. He's going to check them. And I love this guy, and I'm going to read another one of his books. The next one that is on my radar from him, I'm trying to think of what the book is called. I'll put it up on the screen. But this book is on my radar as well. And I'll probably end up reading that this month. Maybe, possibly. Because I'm kind of burnt out politically, not going to lie, over all of what's going on right now. But 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. Guys, if you know nothing about political corruption when it comes to families and family lines and how they wash the money, this is your beginner class. This is your beginner course. This is your master class even, because this is master class level stuff that you're going to get in here. And if you want to debate anyone on political corruption through family, this is your beginner guide, and recommend this to everybody, period. So, the next book that I read in the month of June was, oh my god, it was so good. It was amazing. It was called On a Quiet Street by Serafina Nova Glass. I read this in June. I gave it a 5 stars. This book is so fucking amazing. I think it came out this year. This book is thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. This is a domestic, I mean, I would call it a domestic thriller. It is so, oh my god, it was so good. I could read this, and I could totally see this as a movie. I could read this over and over and over again. It was that good. It covers 3 suburban women. One of them is from the UK and not from America originally. One of them is like the I don't really want to say hover mom, like PTO type mom. She does all the gatherings, fundings, organization of the community, and everybody knows her, and everybody appreciates her. and basically the helping hand of the community. The other woman is a recluse of sorts because of her son's death in a, basically, I think it was a car accident. And so she was a basically former, active mom turned into a total recluse, and basically in a state of depression because of her son. Very paranoia, except she's not so paranoid as she thought she was, or as the community thought she was towards the end. Somehow all of these stories converge. It's very interesting following their life story and their, I could literally, this is one of those books where I maybe read it like weeks ago, but I still remember almost everything about this book because of how well written it was. The woman, whose son was a recluse or whatever, she had her husband basically is not in the house, and he feels like he lost her because of this obsession over her son's death and trying to solve it. The PTO mother, she is so active in her community, it's ridiculous. She's kind of stalking the UK woman next door because her life is somehow fascinating to her, and in a way it reminds her of when things were better with her marriage. And her husband is very shady, and she doesn't trust him, and had found out that he was basically promiscuous before, and then tries to catch him again because she has a theory that it's still going on. He's not so great at covering up his tracks. He's very sloppy, and it's because of that she's basically, so in my opinion, so enveloped in the community because she's trying to do everything to forget about how bad things are at home. The woman from the UK has a serious problem, and I'm not going to say what that is because that would spoil the book pretty much. But let's just say she is out of place, and that is totally affecting her and her basically newborn child. And to me, the character that really was the main character was the PTO mom. And basically, the PTO mom and the mom who had lost her son are basically like best friends. And then at some point towards the end, the three of them end up becoming like best friends. But the plot of the book is basically the recluse promises because she does her little private eye work anyway throughout the community, breaking and entering and all this illegal shit to try and figure out what happened to her son. So she's like, listen, she's like, you don't trust your husband. She's like, let me, because she put aside money for a private investigator to figure out what's going on with her husband. So she said, let me just make a deal. You let me basically stalk your husband to try and figure out where and when he's and what he's doing, what he's up to, because you don't believe him. If I find nothing, you don't pay me. If I find something, you pay me. And basically, doing this to help her, and because she's used to doing this type of stuff anyway, and she wants to collect basically as much dirt on the community as she can. And so this is helping her out in a way too, trying to narrow down the suspects for her son's killing, because who knows where this could lead. And it goes, this book, talk about this was so perfectly woven together, this story. It takes you down so many different it spirals out of control. And it is so thrilling. Seriously, this is probably going to be another one of my new favorite authors. Serafina Novaglass 100%, I would recommend this book. 100%. This book was so freaking. I mean, guys, it was just so many twists, turns, so much crazy shit going on, so much shit that just probably should not be happening, but it is anyway in the book, and it was just amazing. So 5 out of 5 stars for On a Quiet Street by Serafina Novaglass. Last but not least, the final book that I read in the month of June was called The Buried by Melissa Gray. Now, I went into this thinking it was going to be some sort of like 10 Cloverfield Lane type book. That's what I went into it thinking, based off of the synopsis, right? I got into this, and I'm like still kind of confused about this book, I'm not going to lie. I understand the premise. So basically, let me just pitch it to you like this. And I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Because, to be honest, I really didn't like the writing style. I thought it was kind of mediocre. And, kind of confusing. But let me just pitch it like this. Imagine the portion of the 100 show where they're basically locked up in the bunker. And they can't go anywhere. But inside of the bunker, in a way, it's also kind of similar to Fear the Walking Dead. And if you have been watching it recently, the most recent seasons where there have been like cult leaders and stuff. So imagine a bunker and a cult leader. And a cult leader is running the bunker. They're basically like a fanatic. Or they seem to be a fanatic. They monitor every little piece, every item in the bunker. They know every book. They know every food item that is in that bunker. If they notice anything off, they're going to basically confront you about it. This is a world in which, this is a post-disaster world where basically something breaks down and they're basically told there's some sort of contagion or something. They can't touch each other. That's one of the rules in the bunker. They can't touch each other. They can't basically discuss what had taken place and all of that. And they just have to live their very, whatever life. And basically there's a group of 3. The main 3 kids in this book is 2 girls and 1 guy. And the guy is basically like an engineer type of dude because of his father. The 2 girls are basically helping the bunker function. One of them is a skeptic about the reasons why they're there and why they have to stay there and why they can never leave, basically. The other one, not so much. She's kind of like, not sure what she believes. And there's a deeper connection between the 2 girls. The guy's basically third wheeling at this point, but it was, and then basically they all, in agreement, basically, disregard the rules and have certain things and rituals or whatever, not rituals, but like, traditions that they do in the bunker and certain things that they have to themselves. And basically, one day, they get bold and decide to figure out, okay, after all these years, we're going to figure out what the hell's up with this place. We're going to figure out who this bitch is and why she's got us locked up in here. And we want to know what's in this place, because basically the engineer found a second blueprint in which things are not what they seem to be. And he goes basically with his 2 friends that are girls, and he basically decides to go on an adventure in this place into finding out the origins and as to basically why they're there. And then the second half of the book is pretty much where it gets sloppy. I think it was a cool concept. I just wish it was carried out better. I mean, this is a cool, like, kind of post-apocalyptic dystopian type novel. Sci-fi. I would definitely say sci-fi. It was good. Not great. That's why I gave it 3 stars. It could have been better. So far, that was what was read for the month of June. So that's the last bit. So now I guess I can go into what shows and movies I've been watching and what has impressed me thus far. Old releases, new releases, and I guess we can talk about that. But before I talk about that, I would like to mention what book I'm currently reading. To be honest, I'm not sure what I'm reading yet. Because I'm not so far, like, granted, I haven't gotten into these books like that yet, but I do have Altered Carbon and The Overnight Guest here. I really want to get into Altered Carbon, because I want to watch the show, so I think I'm going to read that. That'll probably be the one that I choose, and then, I'll read that whole series, I think. And what else do we have here? I don't know. I think I really want to get into a series. I want to get consumed. So that's what the Altered Carbon book series is going to do for me. And in fact, each book, audiobook, is almost damn near 24 hours long. I would really love to see how big the books themselves were, because these things are just like clunkers, like digital clunkers. Of course, I always have my stuff on 1.5 times speed when I'm listening to these, but I have a feeling this is going to be one that I'm going to need to pay attention to, and I'm kind of really excited to read this. So let's talk about, I guess, the movies and shows now, shall we? Okay, we shall. So what do we have here? Let's talk about the shows first, because I haven't talked about the shows. This year, I watched Brave New World, which I read the book last year, and like I said, at some point we're going to do a very in-depth conversation. You know, maybe the next book I really should read is The Handmaid's Tale. I should probably read that again, given the circumstances. But even though I have my own opinions on that already, I just want to get that video out as soon as humanly possible. Brave New World was very, let me just critique it this way. Nothing like, I mean, certain aspects of the book were definitely there, but they definitely more, it was, in my opinion, it was hypersexualized. It did not need to be that way. Of course, in the book, it kind of is, but not to the extent and degree that this show was. They made that, like, the plot line, which, let me tell you something, Brave New World is a lot more than sex and drugs. I'm just saying. And I know because I read it last year, so I was not impressed with the adaptation. And I totally see now why it was canceled, although I am pissed off that they canceled that show because it left us on a unnecessary cliffhanger, and now all I do, even though it was a shitty adaptation, I want the next season. It's just like Handmaid's Tale. It's so nothing, it's so taken the book and like totally, it's totally run off the rails in terms of the script, and in terms of the source material. Although with The Handmaid's Tale, not so much, because the author still has a significant amount of sway there with how that is portrayed to the public. But even though Brave New World, the adaptation was nothing. Let me tell you, there are so many differences that it's not even funny, but it was still a great story nonetheless. And honestly, I'm so pissed that they left us on a cliffhanger. I want to see what happens. I really want to see what happened after that. So I mean, it's not like I can recommend the show because it really is super hypersexualized when it doesn't need to be. It's overly. It's really overkill. But the romance storyline is I really wanted a second season, I'm not gonna lie. I rewatched Revolution this year, which I will probably be doing a bit on my podcast about certain things that I noticed in that show. So that's not for here, but just know, after rewatching that show, I picked up on a whole lot more, and a whole lot more of the stuff is actually taking place in that show right now. So I've always recommended Revolution. It's the most underrated post-apocalyptic show, period, end of story. The cast is stellar. Giancarlo Esposito, or whatever his name is, he's literally, guys, and I've said this multiple times, he's the most underrated black actor in all of Hollywood. I don't understand and know why he's not casted more often. He's got the best sense of dark humor out there. He is seriously, he's amazing. He's so underrated, and he's literally my favorite. He's my all-time favorite black actor in Hollywood. I want him in every single show, movie, everything. He is fantastic. And that show was jam-packed. It had J.D. Pardo. It had Billy Burke from the dad from Twilight. It had what was her name? It had the blonde woman from Lost in it. The cast was just so well done. The guy from Safe Haven, the abusive husband from Safe Haven. Jam-packed cast, amazing show. Couldn't recommend more. 10 out of 10. Recently I've been watching Skinwalker Ranch, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. I had just started binge watching this show this year, and it's honestly the best decision I've made in terms of shows this year, just start shows this year. Phenomenal. You guys are going to want to watch this. It's got all types of stuff that's actually going on now in there, and if you want to learn more about phenomena and unidentified aerial phenomena, interdimensional aliens, interdimensional energetic forces, skinwalkers, giants, Nephilim, underground bases, dumbs, cattle mutilations, all that type of stuff. You are going portals, vortexes, wormholes, all of it, guys. You must watch The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. I did watch Moon Knight. Very unimpressed. Very unimpressed. I know a lot of people lived, breathed that show when it came out this year, but I am so unimpressed with it. It's ridiculous. I'm in the process of finishing up Teen Wolf after all these years. I know it's pretty pathetic, but since the movie's coming out soon, the new remake, which I really hope has Tyler Hoechlin in it. He's honestly so fine, but I cannot wait for that movie to come out. I think Dylan O'Brien's gonna be in it. I think he has no choice. I'm just super stoked for that movie, and so I'm trying to finish up the last season. I'm almost finished, guys. Seriously, I'm like probably only a few episodes away. Pieces of Her I watched this year because I had read the book. It was either last year I'd read the book or this year. I was happy with the adaptation, let's say that. Again, wasn't very true to script, but a lot of it was, and I think it was, in a lot of ways, it was better than the book, and it was great. It was great. That was a good watch. Inventing Anna, I watched this year, which was based on a true story. That woman is making so much money now, it's ridiculous. Everybody's been making memes and stuff about it. I'm so glad that I watched that this year. I remembered the case, but I just didn't really dive deep into it. The show was absolutely 10 out of 10. I love that show. That show was great. I had so many laughs. It was just hilarious how this woman was able to get away with it. Um, she is currently taking over New York City like she dreamed of, literally. And she's taking it by storm, and she's, out of, I guess, all of that, she basically, she learned how to basically do fake business better. And she is just, oh my gosh, she's hilarious. I actually do follow her on Instagram because I'm curious. And this woman is just, it's quite hilarious. I'm telling you, that show was so good. So good. If you want a good laugh, you're going to want to watch that show. This year I watched Jericho. It's got Morgan in it from Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead. Also, I've seen the white guy before, but I have no idea what his name is. But anyway, the point is, this is a post-apocalyptic, post-nuclear war disaster in a small town. Just like a lot of these shows, I'm very disappointed that they've only had, I think it was 2 seasons. It was such a good show. And it shows you how basically impossible surviving nuclear war really is. It shows, the going at people's, see, this is what I love. I love this in the show. Small town, and books too. Small town drama. The town is going at each other's throats, and they're literally wanting to basically, at the point of literally, they will kill each other over, position and rank. And it's just, oh my gosh, this show was so amazing. It showed all the different characters and people that would be left behind after an event like this, orphans, broken relationships, all this type of stuff. It was just, couldn't recommend it again more. It was so thrilling. Love that show. Then recently, I watched The Time Traveler's Wife with Theo James. I have mixed feelings on this, and let me tell you why. First of all, it's a book to show adaptation. I have so many mixed feelings on this, it's not even funny. No, I have not read the book, and that's why I'm hesitant to really go in on this. And nor will I probably ever read the book now that I've seen what it's about. I watched all of the episodes, and I'm really stuck on what I'm going to say about this because it was so confusing for me to watch. And not that this storyline's confusing as to how this lines up with how I'm feeling personally about this. And how Theo James is in this show. I'm just so conflicted, it's not even funny. But let me just try to go there. So this is a show, like I said, based on a book that is about time travel. More specifically, a man that time travels to meet in the past, to meet his future wife. He cannot handle has no control over when and where he time travels to. It's based off of his emotions and what he's feeling in the moment. And it's very trippy, but the storyline is very morally questionable, and it's questionable if this story should have even been told on screen and in the book. It's very, I don't want to go there with Theo James, but it's very Lolita-esque, okay? I'm not gonna lie. And here's why, okay? So the man in this book, the main character, is Theo James, okay? In the show. And he basically, like I said, he has no control over when and where he time travels to. It's based off of his emotions. Although somehow he knows all of the dates of when and where they're going to meet up exactly. That may just be because of his younger self. I mean, there's so many different... It's confusing even to talk about this. How do I talk about this show? He's got multiple versions of him. He's got older selves, he's got younger selves, and basically the sequence of events stays the same throughout his childhood. He cannot change the past. Cannot change it. Everything that is happening is destined to happen. The only thing that's changeable is, like, for instance, they play the lottery to survive. They make money. So basically his older self goes to younger self and says, play these numbers. That's what happens. And the only thing that changes is who gets the money. But in terms of things like deaths and love and relationships, those things cannot be changed. Cannot be changed. It's honestly so confusing, like I said, to even talk about, but basically I'm gonna try. And so this movie, well, not movie, well, I mean, it was a movie. There was a movie which I did not get to watch. But the show, Theo is, and the other thing that happens is he, like I said, it's more of a medical condition in the show, his time travel, where he's spontaneously time traveling, and through spontaneously time traveling, he loses basically all of his clothes. And he's basically dropped down wherever he's time traveled to in the future or the past, and basically like a fugitive, and has to run and basically steal and do all these crazy shit to get out of where he's at. And he goes back. The show is, I don't know who the show's more supposed to be about. If it's supposed to be more about Theo, or if it's supposed to be more about his wife in the show. The time travel's wife. I really don't know, but in the show, it progresses mostly with her, and so she's like young, and then she meets this time traveler in the woods, and that time traveler, little does she know, will soon be her future husband, and there's nothing she can do to change that. And then basically, in the show, the relationship is really awkward because here this old guy is, knowing that that's his wife sitting in front of him, or his future wife sitting in front of him, and she's extremely, she's young, guys, and then he sees her progress throughout time, over time. Sorry about the jump cut, but basically he sees her progress through her teenage years, and it's really weird, because throughout the whole experience, he knows this is his wife, okay? So, and then throughout this whole experience, here she is, faced with an extremely hot-looking man. Throughout her whole childhood, she's meeting this weird guy, hot guy, in the middle of the woods. First of all, I know this is wrong to say, but holy crap, can I have... I wish I had a childhood like this, where I was meeting Theo James in the middle of the woods every single... I know it's not, and that's why it's wrong. Like, right? This is wrong that they casted him to be so hot, because, like, here I am saying this type of crap. But anyway, point is, I'm so gonna get canceled for that, saying that. But, honestly, this girl's childhood was the dream. Meeting the hottest guy pretty much on planet Earth in the middle of the woods all day, every day as a child. Please. The life. This girl was living the life. But anyway, the point is, I'm such a fucking clown. No, let's get serious. This is so wrong on so many different levels. I can't even seem to explain it properly, because it's so difficult to explain. But this is just so wrong. This plot line is just so creepy and so totally wrong. And it's weird, guys. It's really weird. The plot line and everything like that. And so I'm sitting here watching this show, and it's already weird enough that, like, Theo James is popping up naked onto the screen, like, every friggin' what seems like 10, 20 minutes, right? But then it gets weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. But I watched the whole thing because it was difficult to stop watching, okay? This train wreck of a plot line and totally, in my opinion, totally not moral at all, this plot line, but it's so freaking crazy. So here she is, and then over time, because she gets wiser and starts to realize, oh, she's like, oh, I have the same name as your wife. Huh, I must be your wife in the future. And so she's starting to get smart and wise up and realizes that this is basically her future husband. And she's pushing and pushing and pushing the boundaries as a minor to try and figure out if this guy is actually her husband. And she pushes the limit so freaking much, it's very uncomfortable to watch. And she's pushing the limits to try and figure out if he's actually her husband, her future husband. Does all this crazy shit, like steal his clothes, so he's forced to show himself, like, basically naked, playing all types of, doing all types of crazy shit. It was so fucked up. And then she is almost, I think she was almost 18. Yeah, she's almost 18. She's like 17, 16, whatever. She goes to this party. She's so fucking stupid. She knows she's gonna meet up with this guy in the woods. And she goes to do some stupid shit to try and make him jealous and everything. And it turns out totally wrong. She basically gets sexually assaulted. And the plan goes totally wrong, totally south. And she tells him about it, whatever, later. And she tells him about it, and basically they go to kidnap this dude and fucking beat him up in the woods. And then later this guy is saying, like, how, she liked it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it was just all types of stuff. And then towards that episode, he literally goes and says, and this is when she's still technically a minor, and goes, and he's like, oh, how do you know that? And he's like, because she's my effing wife. And it just goes so out of control, and it's just like the show is so out of control. But if this is what the show is like, then what the hell is the book like? It's just so absurd. And then all types of crazy shit goes on in this. I keep saying book. Movie. Not even movie. What am I saying? Show. And it's just like so wrong. It feels so wrong to watch. It's such a twisted story. Because technically speaking, right? This guy is grooming her unintentionally without any of his... he has no control over this because his younger self... it's very confusing because it's like his younger self had never met the younger version of her. But the older version was grooming her, but not really, because she ended up marrying him in the future. But it's just like so confusing. It really is just so confusing. It's like grooming, but it's not. Like, I don't know how to explain this show, but it's just bizarre. And I don't even know if I would again, this is another show where it's questionable to even recommend this show. But it definitely was a crazy watch. It was bizarre. I'm just like so... Still, like, my mind is still mush over that show, and I don't even understand why it was that confusing. Like, I still have thoughts on that show. But anyway, it's just so fucking confusing, guys. And it's like all the crazy shit that happened, it's just, I don't even know how to describe it because it's like confusing, right? Like, cause the older self is grooming his wife to be his future wife, but at the same time, it's like he didn't mean to do that because she ended up marrying him in the end anyway. But then again, she hunted down for him because his older self basically found her when she was younger. And so I don't even understand. Like, it's just a complete and total mind fuck, and I just can't get over it. It's just crazy. Let's just see what has, I'm trying to go down the list and see new releases that I had watched this year so far. Was Scream a new release? I've never watched any of the previous Screams, but that one was good. Trying to see what ones were new. I watched Fresh this year, which was the crazy cannibal movie, and I just gotta say, they are so trying to push this narrative onto humans and onto humanity that it's somehow normal or, again, hot to do these things. It's not. And it's really, I mean, I talked about that movie in one of my book reviews. What else do we have here that was new? I'm gonna go for what I watched that was new. Oh, I did watch the Batman movie, which I've been patiently waiting for all of these years, and it was not a disappointment at all. A lot of people hated it, and a lot of people loved it. I'm one of the people that loved it. The cliffhanger was definitely pretty extreme, but I see kind of why they took so long on it, but honestly, again, like, it could have been better. So, I mean, it was great. I loved it, but it could have been better. I watched Ambulance this year. Phenomenal. I would totally recommend that movie. Totally recommend. It had, what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh my god, that was an amazing movie. Let's see what else that came out this year. I didn't really watch a whole lot of new releases, to be honest. Did watch Vendetta, that was good. It's funny, I have it written down twice here. Where's my pen? I can't really find my pen. There you go, where's my pen? What else did I watch that was new? Didn't really watch a whole lot that was new. But I have been watching, let's see, because I don't really want to spoil the end of the year wrap up here. So this is kind of difficult. Well, let me just read off all of the movies that I've watched this year, and I'm not going to edit them into here because it's just going to be too much work for me. So I'm just going to read off all the movies that I've watched to you, and tell you if they're a good watch or waste of your time. So, first movie I watched this year was Spencer. That was definitely worth the watch. Charlie's Angels, kind of worth the watch. Camp X-Ray, kind of not really worth the watch. It was kind of good. The Final Cut, worth the watch. The Thinning was a rewatch, so I could watch The Thinning, New World Order. Definitely, it's kind of like a regular kind of dystopian with Logan Paul, so if that's not your cup of tea, don't watch, but it was a fun watch. 1984, definitely not worth the watch. Steaming hot pile of garbage like I remember it to be, because that was a rewatch. Seaberg, worth the watch. Jonathan, worth the watch. Toxic Skies, not really, kind of. Edge of the World, worth the watch. Deepwater Horizon, definitely worth the watch. 1984, The New World Order, just watched for fun, not really worth watching. Bob Lazar, Area 51, and Flying Saucers, definitely worth the watch. Dismissed, really worth the watch. Her sucked so fucking bad. And Joaquin Phoenix was a total beta male in that movie, and it was so depressing. I absolutely hated that movie. Scream, totally worth the watch. The Color of Money, absolutely amazing, phenomenal. Shut In, also amazing, really, really good. No Exit, also phenomenal. That's actually based on a book, which I have not read, but it was so fucking good. So predictable, so amazing. It was just thrilling, amazing. Silo, totally worth the watch. Here we go. American Apocalypse, bullshit movie. I don't even think I really finished it. The Invitation, totally worth the watch. Fresh, it was shitty, the plot line, but you're gonna want to watch that to see the predictive programming, and the sick bastards what these rich sick bastards probably do behind the scenes. Coherence, definitely worth the watch. I still believe really good movie. Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, I said to you guys my last year movie wrap up that I would never watch a Spider-Man movie. My brother forced me to watch this, guys. Forced me. And honestly, the only part of this movie that was really good was the fact that they made it clear that my Batman, okay, the only Batman that actually matters, okay, not Andrew Garfield, not Tom Holland, okay, was the Spider-Man, okay? And I'm also glad that they had the Green Goblin, because trust me, I was not going to watch if it wasn't for that. I'm just glad they made it clear that Tobey Maguire is the Spider-Man. That was the only part of that movie I actually enjoyed. Everything else sucked. The ending sucked. New Order. What was New Order? I'm trying to think. Oh, that was the Hispanic dystopian movie. It wasn't great. Night Raiders, amazing. Mine 9, kind of worth the watch. Source Code. What the fuck was Source Code? Like, because I'm looking at some of these, and some of these just aren't striking me as memorable. So let me see. Oh, that was the Jake Gyllenhaal train movie. That was a good one, guys, if you haven't seen it. Factory Girl fucking sucked. Just like Andy Warhol sucks. Just like Jimmy Fallon sucks as a comedian. I'm sorry, but that movie was terrible. God awful. I wish I had just stopped watching it like 5 minutes through because it was fucking garbage. Margaret Atwood, A Word After a Word After a Word is Power. That was a documentary. Enjoyed it. She's, no matter what you think about her political stance, you cannot doubt and you cannot slam her for being a poor author, because she's definitely not that. Bygone, if you liked Wind River, you're gonna kind of like that. Wild Indian, really didn't like that one. Uncharted, totally worth the watch. That's the other new movie that I guess I missed on this list here. Ambulance, worth the watch. Batman, worth the watch. The Time Machine. That's another book I read last year. This is the first time I saw the adaptation of it. And it was a good movie, but it was nothing like the book. So, I mean, kind of worth the watch. Frequency. Fucking best probably movie I've watched this whole year. It's got Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel on it. Fucking amazing. I'm going to watch the show. It's probably going to ruin it for me, but no, it's not going to ruin it for me. This was probably by far the best movie I've watched this year. I've never heard anybody talk about this movie. I've never seen anybody. I mean, this is literally Jim Caviezel's and, in my opinion, Dennis Quaid's best role. Period. I mean, this movie was so amazing. So amazing. Go watch it now. Mysteries from the Grave, The Titanic. That was a documentary. That was also really good. Really enlightening. And, I love anything Titanic. I have ever since I was a kid. Rum Diary I watched because the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial. That movie sucks as bad as the relationship does. So, pretty god awful if you ask me. Black Butterfly, so fucking good. Jonathan Rhys Meyers, a lot of his movies are on this list. He's just doing a really kick-ass job with these thrillers, and I think he needs to stick with that. And he needs to stick with that in historical movies and shows, because that's like his best. Like, I've tried to watch him as Dracula multiple times, but I could never do it because it's just not good, you know? And these movies that he's doing, I'm in love with them. Really, really thrilling, really great. I'm trying to see, because I don't know if I put the one that I just recently watched on the list, so just 1 second here. Trying to figure this out. Trying to figure this out for a minute. Yeah, that's not it. Is it like not on his thing yet? I'm like looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? Let me see. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. It's towards the bottom. I can barely see it. Where the fuck are we? Okay, here we go. Yeah. He's also done The Good Neighbor, which is a readaptation, redone, revamped, movie based on a different movie that I have never watched. But it's basically a revamp, kind of like, okay, you know how there's the old Red Dawn and the new Red Dawn? Okay, that's how this is. There's the old The Good Neighbor and there's a new The Good Neighbor with Jonathan Rhys Meyers now. And this movie was so good. So good. And the ending kinda, I don't want to say it's not for everybody. I just want to say, again, it had to end that way. This was, it was so good. He's so good in thrillers. He needs to stick with it. I think he's finding his, like, niche. He needs to stick to, like, these freaking amazing thrillers. Because I've seen him in a lot of stuff. And I'm just going to say that he just needs to stick with these thrillers. And that's what he needs to do. Because he's getting to that, like, he's really getting, you can tell he's really getting into the role. And I love that. By the way, the Edge of the World movie, which had him in it, was also amazing. It was such a good story. Such a great story, actually. And I actually really loved this, and I couldn't believe that it was a true story. It might be played up just a little bit, but I loved the story. I really, really did. He's been doing a really great job these past few years. By the way, that movie that was based on a true story, Edge of the World, also has the blonde guy from Lost in it. Which he was great in that show. Really amazing in that show, but he was good in this movie too. Outsiders. What was the fuck? The fuck was that about? Give me a minute. I'm like fucking forgetting all these. These are the most recent ones I watched. What am I forgetting? What the fuck? What the hell is that? Oh, I know what that is. That was a movie that was just put out. It has that white woman from Karen in it. It was a fucking crazy movie. It was a total crazy sci-fi movie. Maybe not everybody would like this, but it was good. I liked it. Ride. What the fuck was? Oh, that was a shit movie. Shit movie. I'm so glad I didn't pay $1 to get it at the dollar store. I watched it on. I think I watched it on Hoopla. It was fucking garbage. Bella Thorne needs to stick to doing whatever the fuck she's doing, cause that was like, she needs to basically, what I'm saying is not act anymore, because that movie sucked ass. Vendetta had Bruce Willis in it. That was a pretty good movie. Ava, I watched. Not, in my opinion, it was not worth the watch. It was kind of shitty. Heart of a Champion. Oh my gosh. Or Heart of Champions. Anyway, that movie was so good. So, I went into this thinking it has to be, like, kind of emotional, because there's no way you can make a movie off of these boys rowing and stuff like that. It was great. It was a great movie, and I loved it. It had Alexander Ludwig, which is Kato from The Hunger Games. It had that, I think that Korean, I think he's a mix between Korean and, I want to say Italian. I'm pretty sure he's Italian. Let me actually look up the cast real quick. It also had Michael Shannon in it. Yeah, Heart of Champions. Charles Melton, what's his? He was definitely in Riverdale, but what was his? Wrong? Kind of wrong, kind of not wrong. Well, I'm definitely wrong about the, whatchamacallit. Wrong about the Italian thing. He's mixed with something, guys. He's Korean, and he's, got an English ancestry, but he's got a tan. He might have some sort of native descent. I'm not even sure, but this guy is totally mixed, guys. I mean, it's crazy. He's got a crazy tan. And then who else was in this? Alex McNichol, which I really do like him as an actor too. He was really good in this movie, and I was watching him in something last night. Day 13. I have not finished that movie yet, but it seems really good so far. But anyway, the point is, this movie was so good. I loved it. Hustle, what the fuck was that one about? It's so crazy. Like, I've watched all these recently, and I don't remember what any of them were about. Oh. That's why I didn't remember. I kind of watched it, kind of didn't watch it, so I can't really give a total review or recommendation on this, but let's just say it wasn't my cup of tea, and that's really why I was not paying attention to it all that much. I wasn't really impressed. The Game is an old movie. I thought it was so unnecessary, so unrealistic, that movie. And it just, again, wasn't my cup of tea. This show, amazing movie. It had Esposito in it, which I love him. Josh Duhamel was in that movie. It was very sick and twisted. I loved it though. Loved it though. It was great. It was pretty funny too. I mean, Esposito, I think, had produced or directed that movie, and it had his fingerprints all over it, because the dark humor that came through in that movie was just great. And then the Titan, I watched. That movie, I have a feeling, is going to become very relevant soon for reasons that I would probably get into on my podcast. But that was a sick movie, major stomach turn. Kind of sort of worth the watch, not really. I didn't really like that one all that much. And then, like I said, I'm watching Day 13, which I really, really like. So far, I have not finished it, so I cannot give a full opinion, but I have a feeling I'm going to love it. So, that's the that's the wrap-up for this year in terms of mid-season wrap-up for the movies and shows that I've watched, along with the books that I've read in the month of June. Now, in terms of shows, once I get done with this Teen Wolf crap, I'm going to either be moving on to finishing, because I never finished watching Lost, so I'm either going to finish doing that, or I'm probably going to end up watching either Vikings or Medici. And I might watch one of these. I do know that I want to watch Dopesick. So these like one season, one off shows I might watch in between seasons. But I cannot wait till I'm done with Teen Wolf so I can get on with my life. So I can get on with watching other stuff, which I have done. I've been watching other stuff with, like, just keeping that on the back burner. But once I finish it, I'll be, like, finished with it. And so, I also really want to watch Yellowstone. So, to be honest, they're all going to get watched at some point. But it's, like, Yellowstone, Medici, Vikings. Like, those are my 3 picks that I want to watch. And I'm not sure which is going to intrigue me more. And then at some point, I do want to watch The Witcher 2 to see what everybody's hyped about. So many shows to watch. But so far, I think this year's going well. Oh, and I did want to update you guys on my reading progress. So far, I'm totally on my way to beating not only my reading challenge currently, but I'm also on the way... I'm definitely on the way to completing my reading challenge, but I'm definitely on the way to beating my past record, that's for sure. My past record, my highest level of books that I've read in a year in recent times. When I was a kid, I was reading like a book every day, so that doesn't count though, because those are smaller. But when last year, I was so fucking close to my goal, I could taste it. This year, I raised my goal to 5 more than what last year's goal was. Last year's goal was 35. My goals have been set at 35 for, like, the past 3 years. I got up to 37 last year, which was pretty pathetic. I'm not gonna lie. If I had went in harder towards the beginning of the year, I would have made it. And that's the thing. I waited too long to make the goal last year, and so I'm not making the same mistake this year. I am going full steam ahead in these first few months, hoping that I can get some relief towards the latter months. And that's exactly what's going on. I am currently 25 out of the 40 books read, 62% technically. I'm 5 books ahead, according to Goodreads, of the reading goal. And if I continue this streak, and guaranteed, because I'm only 2 books away from making the number that I made last year, which was 27, and there's no doubt in my mind that I'm going to beat this challenge this year. I'm literally only 15 books away from making 40. Literally. So, I'm going to finish this goal, and I am going to be so happy when I meet this goal, because then I'll be able to, like, read and do whatever I want. But I'm going to make this goal. I'm making it a goal of mine to make this goal. But anyway, I'm going to finish it, that's for sure. And the more I read, like, in this month and the next month, I won't even have to worry about meeting the goal, guys, because I'm just going to have met it already, basically. So, that's it for now. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe if you like this type of content. Hoping to do more content, like this in the future. You'll probably be seeing another book haul that I filmed, recorded, and edited soon, after this, and, there's a lot of stuff to be excited about. Let's talk about one other thing before I leave. I am so excited. In the month of June and July, the casting for the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes movie that's going to be coming out November 17th of 2023. The casting calls have been released, a lot of them, and let me just say, I am thrilled for this fucking movie. The casting, whoever's doing the casting is just a genius, and they were genius in the first few movies, and they're genius now. And let me tell you, out of all the castings, I am the most excited about Tigress's casting, which is Hunter Schafer. They're in Euphoria, if you didn't know, which I have never watched because that show is just, to me, it's just so disturbing to watch. I could never get through it, but they are the only ones that could seriously, give off that Tigress essence, and I'm totally stoked for that. Just that one casting has got me thrilled for the whole movie now, because that is totally what I imagined as Tigress, and to be honest, there's nobody with Tigress's look. Like, seriously, there's nobody with her look, except for Hunter Schafer. So I'm, like, thrilled over that. I'm literally thrilled over it. And Arachne got casted, and let me tell you something. If they give her darker hair in the movie, I'm telling you, that's exactly what I see Arachne Crane to look like. I mean, seriously, guys. You guys saw my speed paint. It would be a dream of mine to have at least one element of my fan art actually come to screen. If it's the hairpin, the shawl, I don't give a damn. I thought the character design I did for her was really, really well done. And I would be absolutely stoked to see just at least one part of that character design in the movie. I'm serious. Like, even if I just saw, like, the boots or the necklace or the bracelets or whatever, I would just be, or just the pin, the hairpin alone. Like, I just want to see the hairpin and the web shawl. Like, that's all I want to see. But the girl can dream, right? If they actually use an element of my character design, I will be over the moon. Like, literally over the moon when I tell you. But we'll see what happens. I'm keeping my hopes up that I at least see one element. Because I thought my fan art of, not to be rude to anybody else that did fan art of Arachne, but mine was definitely, in my opinion, the best out of the bunch. And I thought her, while I was preparing for this fan art, there was one fan art that I had seen of her school outfit, her school attire, which I thought was smart. I thought that was well done, and I could totally see that for her school attire. But her, like, everyday wear, I'm biased. I think my fan art was really good, and I really want to see at least one element. Like, that would be so fucking cool. But anyway, until next time, Bye, guys. Have fun with all the movie and book recommendations I just gave you. This this video's so fucking long. Anyway, bye, guys.